Pay attention, folks. We're doing this, then we're doing the RFK chicken umbrella corporation zombie pandemic disease plan. I can, but chat can't. It would seem that since my computer restarted and updated Windows, it is not putting Discord audio through the right speaker. Just one moment. I'm hearing you through speakers I didn't even know that I owned. Okay, output.
You know the deal.
There we go. All right, we have your audio now.
Amazing. Yes, happy to be here. You can tee me off, Bosch. Do whatever you want, but I'm ready to yap.
All right. Yeah, no, so folks, okay, obviously it's all over. It's never been so back, et cetera, et cetera. In the karmic cycle of like feeling like you're capable of doing things in response to what is being done to our country right now. Look, I understand that a lot of people might have an inclination against hope and positivity. And look, I've covered a lot of negative news lately. I understand this. But if there's an undercurrent, and the people in chat who are scrolling by right now, they can affirm this, right? You can agree with me on this. If there's an underlying pattern that we've identified, it is that as bad as things are, this administration is hilariously inept and incompetent. They may be powerful. They might have a lot of, they might have the money and the institutions stacked in their favor, but they are deeply, deeply incompetent and seemingly already suffering from a severe judicial backlash. There are avenues of attack, is what I'm saying, and we need to focus in on those because if you all like, it's not about running and hiding. Basically, is what I'm saying. It's about carefully planning out the next move. And to that point, Progressive Victory, always on the ball, has a sterling strategy. GOP's nightmare. Could you please introduce yourself? Name, pronouns, how tall you are. You don't have to give the last one.
Absolutely. I am GOP's nightmare on Discord, but I'm Sam in real life. I'm not the other Sam. I'm not Sam D. I am Wisconsin Sam, and I've been organizing with Progressive Victory since we were called PV 2022. Kind of really hopped into politics, I would say, out of that. Was politically engaged in college, got my degree in environmental science. I also canvassed a little bit in high school. Admittedly, I had no idea what I was doing, but then hopped into PV 2022 for Wisconsin, and we started organizing pretty fast and pretty hard for, I believe, the Tony Evers governor election and then Senate race here. And then kind of grew my organizing portfolio out of that, began feeling somewhat confident in myself, dare I say it. And then after that cycle, I wound up getting a job for the coordinated campaign, the Wisconsin Dems, in 2023 for Janet Protasewicz, which I know PV was actively involved in, another Supreme Court race, and then went back into PV after that, and then went back to the Biden-Harris Wallace campaign for an entire year, had a blast, and now I'm back with PV, and I'm organizing on the ground in Wisconsin for another freaking Supreme Court race. It never ends, to be fair. In Wisconsin, we've had crazy hinge point elections basically for the last 5 years now, and this kind of feels like a sort of an end point. Once we get through this hump, we will actually have time to rest. I have had the pleasure of working with, quite frankly, hundreds of people who nobody knows about, but who I would describe as heroes in every sense of the way. And that starts with their hope in democracy and electoral politics and organizing. And I'm sure some of them are hopefully listening to this call. And we're going to talk about this race. We're going to talk about the candidates, why we should get involved, and then I'm going to have that call to action. And Bosch, you can probably help me on that, and we can mobilize to Wisconsin.
So yeah, what I'm getting from this is essentially like you're an old timer on the force who needs to go in for one last job before retirement. You know, we've got a big hurdle ahead of us. Since I've been teed up on it, do you mind if I explain what the stakes are?
Yeah, you can go for it, and then I can elaborate on more of the fine details. But if you feel comfortable, absolutely take it away.
Yeah. So obviously, guys, the real question that the oligarchs are looking to answer, or I guess the answer they're betting on, is that money can buy power. And don't get me wrong, it can, but not all power. They essentially bought this election. Like Elon's monetary influence on Trump's victory was overwhelming. We know that. It's not a conspiracy theory. There are some more conspiratorial arguments about like what Elon's money or the promise of Elon's money or other people who are aligned with the Trump campaign, many billionaires are, what that could have done to, say, cajole news media into being largely anti-democratic, or what that could have done to like mobilize votes or like ad reads, that kind of stuff. Money is powerful, but there are limits. For example, despite many efforts in his part, Elon Musk is extremely unpopular in basically all of Western Europe. He's been trying and trying and trying to, sink his wretched little grimy hands into those countries, and so far it hasn't borne out in any kind of real popularity. So to what extent can it affect our elections in a post-Trump victory world where the people who voted for the leopards eating our face party are seeing their faces eaten? How much is that money worth? And what we're seeing right now is a state level election where Elon Musk is very, very, very involved in the opposition's side. We're seeing essentially another attempt at a buyout, and a pretty consequential one at that. Please take it away.
Yes. So we're going to start with who are we supporting? Who are we against? Who is Elon Musk funding? We're supporting Judge Susan Crawford. She, at a very basic level, in my mind, is quite frankly just a normal person, a well-adjusted person to a well-adjusted society. And ideally, if we elect her, she will uphold reproductive access across the state of Wisconsin. For reference, Brad Schimmel, whose initials just so happen to be BS, he will support an 1849 abortion ban that will have no exceptions for rape or incest. So that is kind of the big statewide issue that most people are aware of. Obviously, a lot of people who say aren't viewing this stream aren't fully connected with the deeply fascist undercurrents. So we're going to start at the state level, and then we'll kind of transition into the bigger picture. Obviously, everybody knows right now that Department of Education is under fire. So we'll get to the national level, but we got to start at the state level because that's just how politics works. Politics is local, and then it comes up to the national level.
I think there's a really important cumulative effect to this as well, because for one, people like Elon, they're very fragile. We know that when Trump or Elon meet public setbacks, when they face obstacles that they can't overcome, they get really whiny about it. I think that they're looking for an overwhelming blitz, right? They won the election. They're getting everything done as quickly as they can because inevitably economic and public support are going to wilt. It's inevitable. And they know that, which is why you have this like immediate flood the zone strategy. Get all these unpopular executive orders, blitz, blitz, blitz. And I think that this is part of it because they know they have a time limit during which their actions can be construed, not honestly, but they can make the argument at least for the idea that they're operating with the public mandate. Past a point, their unpopularity will prove that no longer a viable argumentative strategy. Past a point, the unpopularity will turn. And we want to see that point turn as quickly as possible. So if Elon is able to buy this race, that's a point in his favor. That's an argument to the momentum. He still has it. But if he loses here, it speaks to the opposite. It's like a signal maybe that, hey, yeah, you got the election in a few months, but everything past this point is going to be an uphill battle, which is why I think it's so important to be involved now, not 6 months from now, not in the midterms. The midterms are a year and a half from now. They're way down the line. We need walls built sooner than that. We need them to fail and trip and stumble now when they're still in their period of perceived invulnerability.
Exactly. And I think Steve Bannon was actually making that point, like even before this election, about how if you ram things through super, super fast right after you're elected, you can demobilize the opposition party and kind of make sure that they don't feel any sense of power, that everything is doomed. And if you do that as fast as possible, then that is a key kind of piece off the chessboard and fighting against fascism. When people are demobilized and demoralized, they don't put up a fight, and that allows the fear and pressure that Trump has to ram things right through. So it's functionally war tactics that we are seeing right now.
Yeah.
And I want people to be very, very clear. I want to be very, very clear that if we fight right now, as soon as possible, this is the weakest they're ever going to be, and this is going to be the most effective time to put up the fight because, as we know, popular support is going to decrease, but they're going to probably have more and more tentacles in positions of like military. They're going to go up. They're already going after education, so they're trying to make it so nobody has the intellect or the organizing capabilities to put up a fight and to fight for democratic norms. And that honestly ties right in to the race. I think a judicial candidate, ideally depoliticized, is obviously becoming very, very clearly politicized with, so much pressure being put on the judicial system right now. And funnily enough, Brad Schimmel is actually advertising about how Susan Crawford is going to get in the way of Trump's agenda. Like, he's just being extremely overt about it. And that, kind of helps us in a way. It allows us to be like, hey, this is clearly a fascist takeover, and Brad Schimmel is basically a mega judge who will do his bidding. And I want to be also clear, Elon Musk has donated $10 million so far into Brad Schimmel's campaign. That is, I think, by far the largest donation to a judicial candidate in U.S. history. This is also the most expensive Supreme Court race in U.S. history. That is not a surprise. Because of the Supreme Court, Wisconsin election laws are like you can make unlimited campaign donations. So if Susan Crawford were to win, a couple years go down the line, we might be able to cap that at say like 100,000 or 20,000. So there is so much at stake here. Boss, would you like me to talk about this funny concept called gerrymandering?
I've heard rumors of this Jerry and what he's been mandering.
Yes. Who is Jerry?
Please.
Yes. So Wisconsin is one of those funny states that has been, extremely gerrymandered. We're pretty sure by some analyses it was the most gerrymandered state in the country. If you remember back in 2023 from Janet Protasewicz, he won the election because of PV, all because of PV. And then we were able to create new maps that made it so if, say, 50% of Republicans and 50% of Democrats vote for their local state assembly or state senate races, you'll get roughly a 50-50 split in the state legislature. How that's been and how that could be is if you get another 50-50 split, Republicans will still get 2/3 of the seats in the state legislature. Then they basically can control every single issue, whether that's reproductive rights, education access, defunding the natural resource agencies here, going after people's health care, you name it, going after public transportation. So with gerrymandering in play, you can attach that to every single issue. I've been talking to a bunch of young people. A lot of them are single issue voters and say care about like marijuana. I lead with marijuana, and then I can basically connect that to gerrymandering. So you have a really easy time in this race, I think, connecting to people, because when everything is at stake, you can connect everything to that. So I've had a lot of fun being involved on the ground. And I quite frankly think it is easy. And it's also been just super rewarding to kind of be a part of this journey and like literally fight out of what we call Wisconsin as the laboratory of autocracy, where Scott Walker, former governor, villain, he did everything he could to ruin this state that quite frankly is probably tilt blue. But he's used all the powers. He's defunded federal agents, he's defunded state agencies, he's committed extreme acts of voter suppression. He's fought against unionization rights here. He's gone after teachers. He's gone after education. So it is very interesting to see how this is all getting kind of funneled into the national level. Like, welcome to our frickin' life. This is just Wisconsin Republican politics at large, what we're seeing right now.
It is very indicative, though. And I think like you're kind of teed up for a good job advocating. Here, in large part because of what you described, with Susan being a largely apolitical judge and Brad Schimmel being like extremely partisan, backed by MAGA, backed by Elon, a huge amount of donor money coming in. It's much easier to frame things for Susan when you can do so in a way that ropes in partisan aligned individuals. It just makes it easier to advocate for them. You don't have to even argue the affirmatives of the positions. You don't have to argue in favor of a lot. You also have the ability to argue against partisanship itself.
Yes. Yeah.
Speaking of getting involved, I've heard rumors that folks can do that.
Yes. If you say, I always say, if you hate Elon Musk and you want to get involved, which I hope everyone here does, I would assume, Progressive Victory is having canvassing operations going on multiple launches throughout the state of Wisconsin. They actually start this weekend, and they've actually been going on for, I think, over a month now with Progressive Victory. The main ones that we're trying to focus on is getting people who are, say, in the Minneapolis, Twin Cities area, or like anywhere west of Wisconsin. You can show up to a place called Eau Claire. We're doing a canvassing launch there. It'll be kind of convenient for you if you, say, want to drive. We're also doing a canvassing launch in and around the Milwaukee area in a city called Wauwatosa. And that's going to be very convenient if you, say, live in the Chicago metro area. You can probably take the train right up to there. And that will be going on starting this weekend, and then hopefully a big launch next weekend. And then if, say, you aren't super cool and you want to get involved in your bedroom because you're lazy, or maybe don't live in the Midwest, or, you know, if you're extremely based, please come out. We're also doing phone banking that is going on, I think, almost every single day from now through the election. You can get training on the spot, and the energy in those phone banks is extremely hype. TV people can go into groups, and you'll be contacting likely Dem voters because, again, this is a turnout election. You do not have to worry too much about persuasion. We want to match what we did in 2024 as best as possible. The phone banks will be positive, they will be fun, and you do not need any experience. And this is, in my mind, one of the best ways to fight the momentum of fascism right now, and you can do it from your bedroom. You do not have to leave your room. You do not have to touch grass.
But
also,
you know, if you can,
yeah,
it is, yeah, it's you can get involved at all levels. Yeah, I guess, like I've always said that, you know, it's it contributes to a deep mental unwellness to be heavily involved in consuming political content and following the news,
yes,
but to not do anything about it. So more so than ever before, like that argument applies now more than it ever has in the past. So please, for the love of
absolutely.
God, if you have the ability, I strongly encourage you to participate either in person or by phone.
Yes, I have two things on the mental health point. I've talked to a bunch of volunteers on the ground who have been like struggling with their mental health. Honestly, I have too, of course. Getting involved and having an impactful conversation genuinely makes your day, and for a lot of people, it will make their entire week. Like you do feel something very, very, I think, important when you have these conversations. A sense of like support of democracy. What a crazy concept. That is great. And then also PV is offering a $50 gas reimbursement for any of those Giga Chad canvassers who do come out to our various launch points around Wisconsin. So that is an extra incentive. If you're worried about money, we can give you $50 right off of that. If you want to come up for a day or like stay overnight, canvass on the weekends, canvass the final 4 days, please freaking do. That is almost everything I have. I do know that Progressive Victory is also getting involved with a community event, I believe starting this Friday, kind of like a campaign kickoff. And that will involve like kind of Wisconsin-based things like Wisconsin trivia. I think there's a karaoke night if you're feeling extra, you know, extroverted and want to sing to people. So we're also trying to offer a sense of community in a time where isolation has never been more kind of prominent. So we're trying to do literally everything that we can here, help with the audience. Because I know the audience is getting inundated with endless amounts of headlines of why they should give up. And we're trying to offer a reason why you should and why you should find hope. And I hope that everybody who is listening to this at least gives it a shot. If you just take a little step in, you're probably going to find that all your worries about getting involved are not as real as you think. I mean, I've worked with hundreds of volunteers who start off not feeling competent in themselves, and then they have a single good conversation, and suddenly I can like let them go on their own and they can do their own thing, and then they come back to me like thanking me that I just pushed them that extra little bit. So if I can push any viewers an extra little bit, or boss, if you can do that, please do it. It might not change the world, but it just might make a difference in helping change the world. That is mostly what I have. I'm also aware that there's a PV membership subscription that you can get. You can also get a little card in the mail if you do sign up for the Progressive Victory subscription. We do rely on donations to keep floating. And again, if you can't get involved, but you got extra money in your bank account, That is another super impactful way to do this. But any other questions for me, Bosh?
Oh, I mean, I think that really the greater mental health concern that we should all be keeping our minds on is that if Elon gets really upsetty spaghetti over his guy losing, I mean, that's going to be more uplifting than any heartwarming phone bank or direct
Absolutely.
canvassing conversation, kind of like a buff to everyone. So we're really just kind of we're looking to claw that one out. We're looking to get that. I hope.
Yeah. If hope isn't your vibe and you are fueled off of spite and hatred, that is perfectly valid. That's a form of love in my mind. So let the hatred of Elon run through your veins, and you can find some hope along the way.
Yeah. Thank you very much for coming on. I really appreciate it. And it's good to be reminded that in spite of how bad things are right now, there I don't buy into the presumption of competence that would let somebody think that the direction we're heading in right now is unfixable. Certainly there's a lot of work to be done, but I mean there are
Yes.
like key avenues here that we can jump on.
Absolutely. Yeah. Wisconsin, we're on like step 12 of what feels like 25 right now, but we have slowly, every step of the way, found more and more reason to care. And that is not going to stop no matter what. But
And
thank
nothing
you
ever
so
ends.
much.
Thank you.
Nothing ever ends.
I hope you have a wonderful day, and I look forward to sending lots of folks your way.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Yep. Bye.
Bye. And I'll put a link to the sign up down in the description of this when it's a segment and not just me being live. No, really, folks, I mean it. It's not good for your mental health. Just sit and watch this stuff. It's not good for you. You gotta do something. It's important. Can you do phone banking if you're not American? Sure. Yes. Just sign up. The sign up link. I can't sign up without an American number. Ah, okay, they might want that. There are probably ways to get around that, but honestly, you should just take it up with them. If you're interested enough in phone banking that you would ask the question, you should be interested enough to reach out directly to Progressive Victory to see what they can do with you. You know?